Good morning. It's me, Carrie V. Dean, coming to you again from A Dullard Speaks. And yes, I come to spew nonsense yet again. Today, my nonsense is kind of scattered as usual, or not unusual for me. My brain goes on 90 miles an hour about a lot of different topics. Um, Today, specifically, what really irks me are the people I keep seeing all over the news complaining now about the very thing that Donald Trump had already announced to them would be happening under his term. That was the only truth he spoke, was exactly what he would be doing. Um, People call it slip ups. It wasn't any slip ups or anything else. He did it very tactfully. And what I mean by tactfully is he fully had it thought out for him how to let certain things leak at certain times so it'll look like a slip up. So everyone thinks that, oh no, he just misspoke. He didn't misspeak. The stuff that you considered he was misspeaking was the stuff that he was actually going to implement. Now that it's in full swing, everybody's crying this, that, and the other. And, oh, I didn't vote to have money sent to Kiev. I didn't have money set for going to the Ukraine. Well, duh. None of us voted for that. That's the point here. This is the big picture you should be looking at. Our Congress has always done with our taxpayer dollars what the president has seen willy nilly to have happen. But you forget the president is only a puppet within that office. Congress is supposed to control the president, not the opposite way around when it comes to the purse strings. We now have it the opposite way around, and it seems every program that they're gutting are actual programs that benefit us, the American people. There's still a few standouts that say, oh no, um, those programs weren't really benefiting us until they find out one of their family members or colleagues within their little peer groups lost their jobs because Elon Musk went in with a heavy hand and started cutting departments. Oh, now it's a problem. Well, you should have thought about that before you thought about your hate. You voted with hate and malice in your heart, and now that it's coming your way, you don't like it. Well, you can't vote with hate and malice. But then again, I digress because I'm being hateful right now because, yes, you can. You can vote that way. It's in full proof in front of us. No one on either side looked at the full facts. Full facts is we need a whole new, fresh Congress. We need a whole new presidency from top to bottom. Okay, yeah, there are a few like Jasmine Crockett and a handful of standouts that are trying to still represent the people. But that's only because they've been taken out of their comfort zone as to who they're representing. That's the people. I'm sorry it took the the shakeup of a truly, truly, truly nasty crew to come through for some of the Democrats to finally turn on and wake up. Um, that's been the problem here in America. Always, that's been the biggest problem. The South might have succeeded to the North, but was it really as was it really a succession? No, it really wasn't. Um, it will always be North versus South in America. Our country was built up around that nonsense and has continued to plow its way through that nonsense. Red versus blue, but our American flag is red, white, and blue. So, red states, blue states, you hear how childish that sounds. Each state had set themselves up in the early beginnings of the presidency. Each state, new state that was developed, set themselves up as an acrocracy. When you think about it, um, towns had mayors. You had the governor, you know, um, and they seem to run themselves pretty or govern themselves pretty efficiently when you want to go back to the past, as Donald Trump keeps saying he's taking America back to the past. If you keep wanting to go back to the past, well, that's what it was. Each state was like a little island to itself. Um, Hence the Civil War. Civil War wasn't just about slaves and slavery, as we were taught in the history books. It was also about control. We didn't want a kingship, but what we did is said, well, hire a guy that's chosen from the people to run the country. Well, guess what? You put a price tag on that. It couldn't be a straight up poor guy. Well, Lincoln was poor, our poorest president. Yes, but Lincoln was a lawyer. So how poor was that? Think about that in today's society, where lawyers are the most respected and the most hated people in America, um, depending on whether or not you won your case. So you have to really think about these things. So here we had all this stuff going on, but oh, none of that's really talked about. And then the slavery was the underlying thing. Okay, as usual, it was the underlying thing. But what do you do? What do you do when you're a Republican? First thing you do is go to the thing that's the most reputed and use that as your platform to run for office. So we didn't really lose the mentality in coming to America. We really didn't lose the mentality of someone had to take the blame as head of state. We never lost the mentality that we couldn't govern ourselves. We never lost the mentality that we needed a overall parental figure. As Trump was always saying, he'd be everyone's father. Um, well, not quite everyone. Um, um, the nice people, he's their father. But who are the nice people? Oh, billionaires. That's right. Um, I think it's funny that we're proving yet again we haven't lost the mentality. I don't care who you are in America. We grew up with it. It was ingrained into us. You need a government to govern you. Well, we're putting all this money into the government because we got sold on the idea of that. So basically, we're throwing ourselves to the wolves, and now we want to cry about it. As you can see, yes, I'm very much the confused woman that don't understand politics and don't understand what's going on here. Yes, of course. Again, where am I getting my facts from? Well, I'm getting my facts from whatever you guys are spewing out there in the press. You don't like it? Tough. Stop lying. Okay? That goes to all politicals. Stop lying. Tell the truth for once. You want the power, you don't have the power. The other side has the power, don't know what to do with it because they don't want anyone else to ever have the power. Um, this has been going on in America's history since day one. Okay? Since the beginning. We don't want to be governed. We can govern ourselves, but oh, wait a minute, we need someone to govern the fact that we can govern ourselves. Don't try to make sense of it. Sense cannot be made of it. It is a imperfect, illogical proceeding, an experiment that's now mutated into its full ideology that all men are not created equal in the eyes of the average human being on this earth. Go around the world and you hear the same recurring stories of one race thinking they're more superior than the other races. You hear it more out of the Europeans because they've had years of developing the system of how to subjugate others. Most most of the nations growing up under kingships and things like that, they don't come out more brilliant than anyone else or anything else. But what they do come out with is how to use their hatred to get what they want. More humble nations, we've had to learn that hatred Guess what happens when you teach hatred and your subjects learn hatred? It turns ugly quick. And that's what we're seeing in this administration, starting to implode on itself. Starting to implode because the subjects are hungry and they want someone's blood for their discontent. Well, we have only ourselves to blame for our discontent. So, with all the finger pointing, pointed at yourselves, look inward. What did you do? Stop looking at what didn't somebody else do. What did you do that brought us here? Oh, I know you don't want to hear it from a dullard, but I'm smart enough to know I'm where I'm at because of things that I've done, things that I've said, and things that I didn't do that I should have done. But, you know the saying on that, would have, should have, could have will never be. So we can talk about what the intent of the Constitution was all about, to the end of the world spending, and that we will not be able to make any sense of it. We will not be able to make sense of it because this nation was built upon greed, indifference, and lack of empathy. We did not get into World War I until we lost some blood. The first, it's my understanding, the first couple of ships that tried to come to the U.S. in 19 in the early 1930s. I believe it was like 1932, 33. There were a couple of ships coming over, heavily laden with Jews, and they were being turned away because of what was going on in their country with the warring and so forth. We didn't want to be any part of it. Then finally took heart that, hey, there's been mass killings of Jews, and it spread to Italy. Oh, there's been mass killing of Jews and stuff, and the people are being, held against their will, and the carnage and the rapes that were going on, and this, that, and the other. Oh, we were ignoring all of that until we saw it was interfering with our trade deals, our ability to be able to ship goods, our ability to gain wealth. That's why we got into World War One. That's why we got into World War Two. because we were fully engaged by World War II. We had become fully aware that it was costing us money by not being in that war. Okay? So don't try to sit and say, oh, Democrats didn't want it and Republicans. No. Anybody that had any wealth, whether you were Democrat or Republican, knew we're losing our money. Let's get our money. So please stop trying to make it look like it's one side or the other, because it really isn't. All it's been this whole time is tit for tat between the Dems and the Republicans. Tit for tat. The Republicans have gone through their baby phase and or have the full responsibility of managing the people's money. And so far, all you've done is found ways to hide what you're doing with the people's money. So you'll keep collecting taxes, but we have no say in how the taxes should be used. You keep promising this New Deal where you're going to send Americans $5,000. Well, we're still waiting. Biden had signed off on a deal to send Americans at least up to $4,000, but that got pushed aside in many of Donald Trump's burning the midnight oil, as he called it, signing executive orders from day one. Again, executive orders are not policies. Executive orders are directions as to how the policy should be used. A directive is not a policy. A directive is just that. It's a command or an action to be taken and executed through existing policies. So here we are again, back to what exactly has the Republican Party done from day one that has actually benefited the American people. They're saying, oh, well, because of the bird flu, that's why the egg prices went up. No, the egg prices had gone up before you guys officially announced the bird flu. Well, the bird flu had been happening since way back in November. Oh, yeah, you mean when you guys were holding up the CDC and threatening to sue the CDC for mentioning about the bird flu in the first place, just like you did with COVID. Okay, make up your minds. Either you're going to be fully transparent or you're not going to be fully transparent. So far, neither one of you in Congress have been fully transparent about anything. So, where do we go from here? That is a good question. And the only solution will be an illogical solution. Unfortunately, my mind has trouble with the illogical part of things. We're taught to be rational. Well, in America, how rational can you be when you were taught by toddlers and they're still showing their toddlers? Once Trump says he wants to unite Americans, well, if you want to unite Americans, quit trying to separate us so that you can control us. That would be one of my first suggestions. Oh, well, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. No, your own ignorance and stupidity won't allow you to do that. Anyone speaking logic to you is crazy, delusional, and stupid because you believe your own horse crap. And that's good. We have belief in something. That's a good point. Bad point is when you ignore the rational side of things, you have chaos. And if that's how you like to live, that's fine. But again, you're ignoring the clause in the Constitution where everyone has a right to his or her pursuit of happiness. So, you're following your line of happiness. How about piping down and getting back to how to best govern the rest of us so that we can be happy? Because so far, no one's given a care about anything else you're talking about. All this other nonsense. Years ago, we had a president that said that it was illegal to use the term common sense in the workplace. I literally got fired over using the term common sense at a job. They said that I was being prejudiced and bigoted and racist, and I shouldn't have used that term. Well, who would have thought you could lose a job over telling someone that used poor judgment because of their laziness that could have cost some not only money but lives of people, but because you used the words common sense you get fired. Never heard of that before, huh? Well, it happens all the time in the US. The rational person gets fired, the non-rational person stays, and within a few months to maybe a few years later you're hearing that the company went belly up because they couldn't find decent help. Well, what you did is you fired all your decent workers because they didn't take multiple coffee breaks. They didn't take multiple smoke breaks. Now you want to cry about it? Well, we're seeing that in our Congress now. We're gutting all the rational people, all the people that were trying to do the job as best as it was described to them to help the American people get fired or just flat get told the department is no longer in existence and having to leave their jobs. How is that helping unemployment? Oh, we'll come back and fix that. Yeah. Okay. Um, with what? You still have not come up with a plan, a policy that shows the corrections to come. Oh, I see. You're going to wait a little bit, then you're going to reinstitute the policies that previous presidents found success with, and then say, look what I did. I did it successfully. I must applaud you, sir. You are truly a master of BS. On that note, good morning, and I hope you have a very blessed day, everyone.